BBC Radio 5 Live.
I don't know what a podcast is.
That's brilliant.
Me playing on the left wing, it's not an option.
I'd probably cling to someone like yourself, try and hope that you'll protect me from the bullies.
Oh, it's Carl's fault.
Classic Carl, isn't it?
Damn you, Thomas Schaffenacker.
Was he a good dancer, Frank Lampard?
Oh, God, it's like bargain hunt.
Now I'm on the Madras and I'm on the verge of a Vindaloo.
Not sure that bit will make it.
If you manage to get a photo of Iniesta, I will...
Buy me a car.
No. Welcome to episode 12 of That Peter Crouch podcast with me, Peter Crouch.
Hang on, is this the final episode?
What have you signed up for?
12 is the final.
No.
Well, we've got a Christmas special, haven't we? We've got a Christmas special.
Okay, so we've got one more.
So it's 13, but I've enjoyed this, I'll be honest.
So the 13 one, I was told by the people at 5 Live that we're doing as a freebie. It's like we've done 12. The 13th is like a free one.
Buy 12, get one free.
Yeah.
No, you were misinformed.
That was just me, was it?
Yeah.
No, so we're going to ride again in the Samrat. That's what I've been hearing, that there will be a Christmas special.
Christmas special, what about Series 2?
Do you want to do the negotiations now?
I've loved it. I really have loved it.
Uh-oh, there's a but, isn't there?
Shit,
No,
this is like
there's
being
no
done.
It's not you, boys.
There is a but coming.
It's not you, boys, it's me.
I've been in this situation a couple of times before, so
I can see it
know
a mile
how
off.
to handle it. Inside, I'm going, fuck.
Just be honest with us. That's the best thing. Like,
Yeah.
if you
Honesty is the
don't
best
wanna do
policy. I don't want to lead you. I don't want to
patronise us.
lead you on. No, I genuinely have enjoyed it. And I really do want to do some more.
Great. Well, let's sign up right now to do another.
There is no but.
There's no but.
But why are you making it sound like a but?
I'm not.
Chris, I think he loves us. I think that's what he's trying to say.
What I'm trying to say is because it is coming to an end. This series is coming to an end, and it is quite emotional because we are going to stop for at least a week, aren't we?
Yeah. I think the key is we've got to thrash out the terms. Us three as well should stick together on that front. You know,
Big time,
really
yeah.
unite. Because, it is doing well.
It's getting away from what it was, really.
I've never been part of a union, and it just feels like now's our chance. Jokes aside, I've had so much fun doing this podcast with you boys, and obviously this will be the last time that we do this just in a little pub. Again, it's a new pub, which has been a theme throughout this series, that we keep managing to find new pubs to record this in.
Yeah, we seem to.
It's like whack-a-mole, do you know what I mean? We pop up there and then they try and find us, and then we turn up somewhere else in another pub. It's great.
Well, what I've found is there's loads of big tables in this pub. We've picked the smallest.
Yeah.
And we've sat round it.
Well, we're not going to negotiate right now because we're going to get on with the podcast.
What are we talking about?
So obviously every episode has a different theme. We've done kits and celebrations and transfers, but this episode is going to be all about cars.
Talking of which, when are you giving the keys to your car to Crouchy?
Good
That's
point.
a very,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
When do I get my car?
Yeah. I can't remember what we
Don't try
agreed
to get
on.
out of
No,
it.
I'm not trying to get out of
I
it.
do want the car.
I'll tell you, I've actually thought this through. I've thought if you have the car for a bit and then I sell it, I'll get more money for it anyway. So actually, as long as you don't damage it, actually it could be quite
What's
good
the
for me.
first thing you're going to do in his car, apart from donuts and rip all the rubber off his tyres?
I just want to inconvenience Chris, really.
Well, that's the spirit. So
Just around Christmas time.
Right, let's dive into some of our listener messages because I love these. Here's one from Tom. I was recently travelling from Manchester Piccadilly to London Euston. Sat next to me was the one and only Dev from Coronation Street. Now, Dev was a big part of a previous episode where he played an epic game of Play Your Cards Right, Crouchy, with you in first class. But according to Tom, Dev is now slumming it in standard class.
Happen to remember, I'm sure he might have been in standard class that time.
Did he maybe do a weekend first upgrade?
Well, it was the weekend. It was a Sunday.
So he's paid 10 or 15 quid.
He's shelled out a tenner, hasn't he, for the upgrade?
when the train is so busy, I'll go and take up space in first class because I just think, why should I be in here like cats? I might as well, if I'm going to be stood, squashed in, I might as well go and stand in first class. Do you secretly hate people who come and do that? I've paid for a standard class ticket. Well, I'm stood literally right next to you. Maybe even reading what you're typing on your phone.
No, I don't. I think if a train's packed, it's ridiculous, really, isn't it? This day and age, that trains are as busy as they are.
It's quite a serious point, that one, for this podcast.
But they don't let you stand in first class. This is the argument I had with a guy.
Well,
I said, I haven't got a seat. He said, you've got to stand in standard class.
But hold on. Is there seats in first class, though?
The seats in first class.
There
isn't
is.
it? You're not. What I didn't realise, and
Well, that's
this was his
outrageous.
point, is that you're not allowed in the area of first class.
Are you allowed in the vestibule?
I don't think you are if it's the first class one.
Toilets?
So hold on. So I could be sitting there with 4 seats.
Yeah.
Coats, bags on
Feet
them.
up.
And I could be a
Right,
sardine.
and then I can look through and you just faces up against the
literally
window.
like all steamy and everything.
Yeah, but that's outrageous. Like, surely, if you pay for a ticket, you get a seat.
Mate, life is grim at the back of the train. That's
Outrageous.
I didn't expect, honestly, in this podcast to start covering transport policy.
Well, it is wrong, isn't it? It's ridiculous.
Dev from Coronation Street, I heard rumours that he might be accepting the invite to the Christmas special at the
Serious?
Samrat. I've heard
this
rumours.
true,
We
really?
don't know. I don't know if it's confirmed or if it's going to happen, but imagine that.
What I think we should raise is that I think we should know his real name before he
Oh,
comes.
yeah, it's such a good point. We still don't know his name.
He's called Jimmy, I think, Dev.
He's not Jimmy.
Can't,
Shall I Google him?
He's a Jimmy.
Let me, shall I Google him? Hold on.
we can't call him Dev from Corrie.
You'll have to introduce him as Dev, because if I was to say, it's Jimmy from Corrie, no one's going to have a clue who that is.
When I played Play Your Cards Right, he was a lovely fella, real nice guy. So I'm looking forward to seeing him again.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. I was 19.
That's ages ago.
Yeah, seriously.
I didn't realise it
we're
was that
talking
long
like
ago.
18 years ago.
Has he been on that show that long? I'm amazed he
Wait,
hasn't
here we go.
died.
Jimmy Harkishin.
Jimmy, yeah?
Yeah, he's best known for his role as shopkeeper Dev Alahan in Coronation Street, which he has played since November 1999.
Incredible.
So he's probably
There you
just
go.
taken the role when you've
There you go.
bumped into him.
99, yeah. So that was I think it was the 99-2000 season was when I made my debut. So he'd have been making his debut.
Yeah. Whose career's worked out better?
I don't know. Is he still on it?
He's still at
We're,
Corrie,
we're
yeah.
both still plugging away, hanging on.
People come up to him and go, have you not retired yet?
All right, got a message from Ben. I met Peter in New York in 2005. I was tagging along with a friend of Rob Green and met you, Rob, Andy Johnson, and someone's dad in a bar. Trying to be funny, here we go. I called you a lanky streak of piss. You took it with a laugh, but I felt bad about it ever since. It did turn into a great night. We all ended up in the same club with you, Bex, Sol Campbell, and the Grey Goose was flowing. What's Sol Campbell
strange-
like on a night out?
Yeah, he was good actually. He's all right.
He's a little bit defensive, actually, there.
Well, you want more? Hey, no, it was all right. It was good. I think everyone's having a great time. We're all just trying to get away from Ben.
Whose dad was it?
I got a feeling it was. Rob Green's dad.
Talking of your mates, we got another one here from Philip. It says, Crouchy, are you friends with Dynamo, the street magician? I once saw you both in a pub in Camden. Talk to me about this night.
I love. It does feel like these are made up, but that is true. Yeah,
How did this evening start?
yeah. Well, I wouldn't class him as a mate, but I have been out with him a few times. Yeah, I think he's mates with someone that I know, and he's a very good magician. Unreal in a pub, perfect.
But this is it. He must be great fun.
Oh, some of the things he can do just blow your mind, and he just does them for you. Like obviously, usually involving cards, but phenomenal.
Can you do any magic tricks?
I used to be into it.
Did you?
Yeah, I used to do a few tricks.
Did you have a stage name?
I wasn't any
El
good.
Crouchio.
The asparagus.
I got to be honest. I saw David Copperfield in Vegas once. I could not believe he obviously earning a fortune in Vegas. I thought Copperfield, we were having a down day, so let's go and see a show. And we went to see Copperfield, and his grand finale was he basically got a boy out the crowd, a Brazilian boy. He hadn't seen his dad for years, and he said, right, I'm going to reunite you with your dad in Rio.
What?
So,
This is nonsense.
honestly, this is true. God's truth. So I'm in Vegas. I'm watching this show. And he goes, "Well, I'm going to reunite your dad in Brazil." Anyway, so puff of smoke happens. Right, they're gone. We see the big screen. Cuts to the big screen, and they're now in Rio in the same clothes. And they see their dad on Copacabana Beach. So the little boy sees his dad. They run over, reunited. They hug each other. Anyway, they come back into the.
What do you mean anyway they come back?
Into
How?
the well, it's magic.
Let me finish the story because I have a couple of questions.
Right, exactly. I had the same questions. They came back to the studio, and the only proof they had that they had been in Brazil was they had sand and wet feet. And anyway, so we all went, well, that was bollocks. That was absolute. So that was the finale. And as we were walking out the theatre, we were going, what a load of shite. The Americans were going, they were in tears,
Oh,
like
my
literally crying.
goodness.
And oh my God, it was so amazing. I reunited with his father, crying in tears, just went for it.
So it was obviously a video. Wouldn't we all love to see Crouchy do some magic? I think maybe Samrat's looking busy, but it'd be amazing to see you reunite a child with their father
In Brazil.
in Brazil. Maybe
love-
second series we can look to put on a little
Have we
magic
invited
show.
any
You know,
Brazilian boys to the
that'd be
Samrat?
great.
I
I
don't
don't know if we can. Georgie, find us a Brazilian boy to reunite.
Here we go. This one is from Mossy. Mossy says, I went to Crouchy's debut for Villa. I saw the team out on a student night afterwards, scoffing the free chili they were giving out.
Yeah, I wasn't adverse to a student night. Been to many a student night.
Didn't Klaus Lunderkvam enjoy a student
He
night?
did, exactly right, yeah. When I was at Southampton, it's quite bizarre. But yeah, I think it was Hot Shots on a Monday at Leisure World in Southampton. Yeah, he invited me a few times. It's like, Klaus, you're 32.
Mature student, that one.
Incredible.
How much was a drink at Hot Shots on a Monday?
It was £1 for a shot. I know he enjoyed the student night. It was partial, definitely.
I don't want to do this podcast down, but I don't actually know that much about cars. We're going to start talking about cars.
I don't know
very
anything about
soon.
cars.
Are you not into it?
Not really.
I'm not a huge fan of cars.
So let's crack on.
This is going to be great.
Crouch going for the spectacular. Oh, what a goal from Peter Crouch!
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
So for most people, Crouchy, they might have one car, a big family, they might have two cars. I always get the sense that footballers have cars like most people have shoes.
They definitely, obviously, they've got a few quid, haven't they? So they're going to have the odd car, maybe. I think you go through a little crisis. I think my personal point of view, I always felt that, I was doing okay, like financially and stuff, maybe could afford a car, but I think you've got to downgrade it until you get established at that football club. That's the way I always looked at it.
So there's
When
a model of car that you cannot have
I
until
think
you've
so.
made a
So it's
certain
like going
number
up
Premier
through the
League.
leagues of
Yeah.
car as you go up through the leagues in football.
I think so. I think, if you're a young lad and you're splashing out and you're driving in a Range Rover, you haven't played a first team game, I think that's outrageous. I don't think that should
So
happen.
what should they be driving?
I started with a Volkswagen Polo. That was my first car. I moved up, got in the first team at QPR, and I went for the Renault Megane.
It's gone big time straight away.
Yeah, and my dad said to me, I said, Dad, I'm going to go for the convertible, I feel like. And he said, no, son. He said, I think you should go for the coupe. You don't want to look too flash. And that was generally what my dad said to me. And then I got in the first team, and I started doing really well. I ended up winning Player of the Year at QPR, and I did upgrade to the soft top.
Oh, did you?
I did.
So that was
I went
always your
massive.
goal. So was that your little treat in your head throughout it that you
I
were
said
going to get that
if I
soft
get in the
top?
first team, I'll establish myself. I'm going to get that soft
That's
top.
wicked.
Yeah, so I did.
Do footballers actually know anything about cars? So let's say you were on the M6 and you had to pull over the hard shoulder, the car's conked out. Are there any of your teammates that you could call and they could get their head under the bonnet and go, yeah, your big end's gone?
I'm pretty sure that, safely say that none of them do. Well, I certainly haven't met one. There are players that are into cars, but few and far between. They just like the way they look and drive, I think.
Who's the worst driver you've ever had to sit in a car with?
Charlie Adam's quite a bad driver.
Why is he bad?
Gets easily distracted.
Oh, no.
And you find yourself just on the lines that
It goes. Charlie, I like the idea of footballers going and picking each other up to go training. I think that happens quite a lot, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, it does. I've actually got a mate who is a coach in League One, League Two. He said the lads pick each other up with the hat on, the white gloves, and the players aren't allowed to touch the door, so you have to open the door for everyone.
I've not seen you drive. Are you a good driver, would you say?
Yeah,
Or do you drive that much? Or?
I always wind Abby up because when I was a kid, to get my insurance down, I did the course that made you a master driver. And I've actually got a certificate that says you are a master driver. And it says
It's not master driver.
Yeah, a master,
It's not called master. You're
Master
not a
driver.
You're not a master driver,
Master
mate. I hate
driver.
to break it to you.
Do you flash it in her face?
Generally, when you take that, it's like a
Yeah.
your license, but like an
It
advanced
is.
license.
It is. There's a phrase for it, but
Advanced
it's not
driving.
advanced driver.
No, it's master driver.
That's one step on from advanced, is it?
Do you genuinely think you're a master driver? Do you?
Well, it's official. I've got a certificate at home.
You know, your whole game is about quick decisions. You actually should be a very safe driver, in my opinion. Not about speed at all. No offence, mate.
Cheers. Well, it won't be when I drive your car, will it?
Oh, no, I'm really worried about that, actually.
Are you going to be all right around Christmas time?
My only rule will be you can do anything you want with it except take it to the Thicket roundabout. The Thicket roundabout is a famous
One
spot.
of those.
Really?
You know, when you drive past and there's a sort of, they make it really clear that there's a police presence there. Police put up a sign saying, like, we're watching you. I'd hate my car to be photographed there. And
Well, I wouldn't be too pleased with the photo either. If I'm honest.
Particularly in his car.
We've all got reputations to uphold.
I've got a question. When you, as footballers, give each other lifts, when you car share, is there any discussion of, I'll give you a £5 for the petrol? When a £5 is fundamentally a meaningless amount.
Yeah, if you're car sharing every week, I think it's a nice gesture to your time when he's filling up to go and pay.
I've got this.
I think that's where you go. You wouldn't give, put a £5 in the pot.
At £2.50, yeah.
I'd be amazed if it
I've
was
calculated
going like
your
that.
mileage rate on this trip, but
Yeah.
it comes to £3.60.
Yeah, I don't think it goes like that. But I think it'd be, it's a nice gesture too. And it happens because if you think about how many times that players move clubs, players will live, say they, play for a Manchester club and go and play for someone in Birmingham, then they might travel. And I think if the kids are at school, you forget that. If the kids are at school and they're happy, then a lot of players live in a different place to where their club is. And if a few players do it, then they can car share. And it's definitely a good laugh.
I've given you a couple of lifts, and you've never offered payment, and neither would I expect you to. Neither would I expect you to offer payment because it was a pleasure. I was going that way anyway at the station. But also, Chris, do you know what? My car was such a disgrace. So Crouchy's got in, and the footwell looks like a dustbin.
I was actually quite pleased because I could have a snack, read the paper.
Yeah,
It was all in the
isn't it?
footwell.
It
Perfect.
was all there, wasn't it?
Biscuits.
It
No
was
respect.
It was
Apple.
disgusting. So that green polo you've got, are you going solo in that, or are you giving people lifts?
I used to take a group of lads. One of the lads lived in Harrow. Another one lived in Colindale. It was sort of on the way on the A406. And I started, obviously, Hanger Lane. So my journey used to go and pick these lads up, and then we'd take them to Chigwell, where I used to train with Spurs Lodge. And we'd always meet, and I'd pick them all up. And we used to play a game after training. We used to have penalties. We used to walk from the halfway line like a proper penalty shootout.
Nice.
And then we go, whoever lost the penalty shootout wasn't allowed a lift home. And it's a long way. It's a long way. And we did this because we loved the game so much. We were out there till it was dark, and we'd play it. And then it was like 6 o'clock, and we were back there the next day. And we'd just drive off and leave whoever it was. Couldn't get a lift. I remember one day we were driving home on the 406, all packed into the pea green Polo. Anyway, this Ferrari pulls up alongside us, and the window comes down, and the lad we'd left behind, just see him like that, like giving us the fingers. And Les Ferdinand had fucking given him a lift home.
Oh, that's so Les.
Killed us. Absolutely killed us. Because we were hoping he would be totally inconvenienced.
2
And
hour
in the end,
tube
he
journey,
cruised past us in a Ferrari and absolutely blitzed us.
Have you played with anyone who's literally never learnt to drive?
I played with a lad at QPR called George Kolskar, who was an amazing man.
He was an Aussie boy, wasn't
Aussie
he?
fella, yeah. He was great. One of the funniest fellas I've ever met. And he genuinely didn't give a toss about his car. He had a Mini Metro, and we used to hammer him every day, like terrible. And he had all sorts in it. It was packed. You couldn't see. It looked like he was going holidaying down to Devon or something. He had so much stuff in his boot. And we used to say to him, George, why don't you just change his car? He said, don't give a toss, mate.
Yeah, I like that though.
Just genuinely didn't give a toss.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it must be a sort of keeping face as a footballer. Like you could not be into cars at all, but feel the need to get a nice car because you're turning up at the training ground.
Jurgen Klinsmann, when he first came to Spurs, used to drive a VW Beetle.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
And
I was in
mess
youth
with
team.
people's- Well, yeah, so
I
you
was,
saw
I was,
it.
I was a schoolboy, actually, when Klinsmann was there. I was only a kid. Yeah, I saw him driving it, yeah. And he used to get loads of stick, but he wasn't arsed.
It's very hipster in
Yeah,
retrospect,
it was
wasn't it?
it was actually quite cool, yeah.
I've heard of pranks as well been done where if someone loses some kind of bet or competition, they have to drive this appalling car, like really bad, couple of £100 the car.
No, we had it at Portsmouth. Brilliant.
Did you?
It was one of the most fun. We had this three-wheeler.
Like a Robin Reliant?
Yeah, basically, yeah. You had to, if you're the worst player in training, you had to drive it. And once you got it for the week, you had to add something to it. So you'd get it sprayed, or you'd get it. By the end of it, the car was unrecognisable. It was amazing. It ended up being like an A-Team wagon it had a trailer at the back. It had the best sound system you've ever seen in your life. It had different wheels, the radio. It had a like a speaker system on the top, so you could drive it, and basically a PA system, and you could shout from inside the car, and it would echo around the training ground.
So every week at training, a new thing got put on it, like
literally,
like Buckaroo almost. You
Basically,
just keep adding,
nice.
Just keep
That's
adding to
wicked.
it. Yeah,
Who put the single best thing on it out of all the players?
I think Jamo put the sound system in it.
David
I think
James.
Sean Davis spray painted it in the A-Team colours.
I'd be buzzing to see it every week.
It was brilliant. I remember the first time we were warming up and we didn't know where Davo was, and he came out, he drove it onto the pitch, and he was playing the A-Team.
Bum, ba, bum, bum,
The
bum, bum,
speaker
bum.
system.
Ba-la-da-da-da.
That's great because you know he's really thought about that
Amazing.
as well.
Yeah.
Have they ever? I think there's an amazing story. Was it Gaza who used to hide fish in another player's car? His story was that he'd hide 2 fish because
Oh, you find one.
you'd find one and think you'd solved the problem, but the other one would still be in there,
Cunning.
still going
very,
away.
very cunning.
Have you ever pranked a mate's car?
Have you ever hidden a fish?
I remember when Michael Owen was at Stoke, someone in the middle of the night when we were staying in the hotel had just wrapped his entire car in eggs and flour, and no one knew it was for months, and everyone was trying to get to the bottom of it. He was fuming, and then he actually left at the end of the season, and we just got a picture. I think John Waters and Robert Hoofer were at a wedding, and they both just sent a picture to the lads group of them both doing that. It was us.
That's incredible. So just announced
Fingers in
it
the
on
air.
WhatsApp.
Literally fingers in the air, announced it. Yeah, it was us, because we were trying to get to the bottom of it for honestly weeks and weeks and weeks.
I love it as a football fan, hearing those sort of
It's good,
jokes that
yeah.
people play.
See that James
Yeah.
Madison one the other day? It was the old bin against the hotel door and then knocking on the door. And it was Damari Gray who's opened the door
And it goes-
fallen over the bin, and then obviously looked to see who's placed the bin there. Meanwhile, the door's shut behind him.
Oh, that's superb. Love that. It's like you said, we talked about this before. Footballers have never had to grow up.
But you've got the resources to be able to do these pranks on a much wider level. I do think Rio Ferdinand took that a little bit too far when he did that You've Been Murked show.
There was a story from Chelsea, which might be apocryphal, I don't know, but when Chelsea have started buying lots of foreign players, so Gianluca Vialli has arrived at Chelsea, represents the new way of doing things. Dennis Wise represents the old way of doing things. Apparently on Vialli's first day at training, Dennis Wise, this is almost the direct quote from Vialli, put his hand down the back of his shorts, farted in his hand, and then put his hand over Vialli's face.
No!
So Gianluca's come from Sampdoria, where
We say that doesn't go on there.
it doesn't happen in Italy. And Dennis Wise has agreed. Hey, mate.
Jesus. I used to do that at school, that one.
Yeah, it's the old cup of
Yeah,
fart, isn't it?
standard, yeah.
The cup of fart.
Standard, cup and fart in someone's face.
When I get a taxi from Macclesfield back to where I live, almost all the taxi drivers have got a footballer story. One of them has got this brilliant story about he was the taxi driver for Yaya Touré's wife. And bear in mind that his car is like a classic minicab. It smells, the suspension's gone. It's probably 20 years old. He was hired by Yaya Touré to take Yaya Touré's wife shopping in Manchester. Apparently, she was a very good tipper. She used to pay him 250 quid to take her into Manchester and just park outside the shop and wait for her. And then her little gift to him, as a little thank you, was a silk scarf.
What, every time?
Yeah. And he was like, it's nice, but can I not just have the money? I'm a taxi driver from Macclesfield. I don't wear silk scarves from Liberty.
He's got a whole collection of them.
He's got a range, thanks to Mrs. Touré.
That's incredible. Yeah, what's your Uber rating then?
Yeah, I wasn't great at the start, but then I realised that I had a couple of people that would, I'd get Ubers for a couple of times.
And they were letting you down.
Not mentioning names, friends of mine
Teammates?
that have been rowdy in the cab, basically.
Because they know it's yours.
Yeah, I had no idea that you got rated like this. Because I said to the fellow, how come I keep getting basically pied off? Like, how come none of you pick me up? And he said, look at your ratings, like, terrible.
Do you know what your rating is?
No, I've no
Do you
idea.
want me to show you?
I don't know how you do it. Yeah.
I've just got to quickly give 5 stars to
I
Hashim.
haven't used this for ages.
As you get out of the car, you say 5 for 5. Little wink, 5 for 5.
So you got to get in and like impress them. Basically, it's like a date.
I'm a 4.76. Very proud
Are
of
you?
it, mate.
That's good, yeah. It
I have
reflects
good
very well on
behaviour.
you, that,
I
Chris.
love this idea, though, that you've booked a taxi for someone and then they've ultimately asked around in it, done what they want, pissed all over the seats.
Basically, and then it's me who gets the because I couldn't understand why the trip's happening and then it's not. Basically, they book you in and then see you and go, God, he's a nutcase.
I've been in this break off.
It's true. They want the job, but they think he's not
just
worth
too
the
much.
hassle.
His reputation.
Lunatic, yeah. So yeah, I've basically the person in question, and I've spoke to them sternly. They won't be using my Ubers again. Yeah.
No.
Mind you, a couple of them might be me as well.
What is the most common question you get asked? What is the first question?
In a
Because you jump
taxi.
into the back of a taxi driver's like, Crouchy, big fan or whatever.
Then it's love the podcast.
Well, I do get that a lot. Yeah.
And then the most common question.
You still playing? Yes, in fact, I am still trying.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
We've had a message from Chris, a different Chris, who says, I once queued behind Peter in a sandwich shop in Weybridge. Yeah, do you frequent sandwich shops in Weybridge?
I used to live in Weybridge.
Okay. He says, I followed him out and watched him try and fold himself into his Aston Martin that was parked outside.
Yeah, it could quite possibly be true.
Right, we're still with it. The bit that stayed with me, says Chris, is that he was wearing flip-flops. And he says, who drives an Aston Martin in flip-flops?
I think I'd have been nipping out. You know, one of those where you're just nipping down the shops or something on a
sandwich,
for something.
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, for a sandwich. By the sounds of it. But yeah, it could possibly have happened. Yeah.
So for those who haven't heard your famous story about your Aston Martin and why you ditched it.
Is this the Roy Keane one?
Yeah, there might be a
It's
few
one of my
people
favourite stories.
left on this planet. Just run us through this little tale because it is a cracker.
Yeah, well, I just felt like a bit of a twat in it from the moment I got it. And I didn't really, especially when I was driving around sort of Liverpool and like everyone knew it was me in it. And like people look and you just feel like a bit of a knob. And that's how I felt in it the whole time I was in it. And then obviously the story goes, obviously I pulled up next to Roy Keane in Hale. He looked at me like I was a twat, which I felt I was. I had my arm out the window, I had my shades on, and he basically reaffirmed what I already knew. And it's a shame because it's a lovely car, and I feel like people could carry them off. And like sometimes like I buy a shirt and I go like, this is so cool. Like, I wish I was cool enough to wear it, but I'm just not.
Totally relate
Do you
to
know
that.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I wish I maybe was a bit cooler at times to be able to carry that off. The car, the shirt, the kind of light things. But I need to be more classic, I think.
But it's amazing. So you got rid of the Aston.
Because I got rid of it, not the same day, but that week.
I really like that story because it just shows that you were uncomfortable
I did a
with
bit.
how sort of extravagant it was. And it was a bit showy.
Yeah, and there are, of course, there are players that want to be showy. I mean, we were talking about Southampton. One player we lived in the same flats, and he bought a Hummer.
This is Yellow Van Damme, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Big lad. Obviously, the car is built for war zones. And we lived on Ocean Village. And the car park had a little barrier that you get through, and he couldn't get through it. So he had to park about a mile away and walk. So I said to him, why don't you just buy a car that fits in the car park? And he said, I really like this one. And I was like, fair enough. And so when he was like doing his shopping and things like that, he was single at the time, he would carry about a mile, he would carry his Tesco's all the way back to the flat. It's just mental. There are some things that you can't comprehend. Jibril Cisse, for instance, had a car with his daughter's name and a picture of her on the front. It's spray painted on.
What?
Yeah, spray painted on it.
What,
On the bonnet.
on the bonnet
bonnet,
of the car, there was a picture of his daughter.
I said, Jib, what happens when you come to sell it? Like, he said,
Sell it to your mum.
oh yeah.
I'd love you to have a car with your face on the side of it. It's quite Alan Partridge.
Yeah, the sponsored car.
Yeah. I'd hate to think this happens. Have you ever had a situation where someone has had a go at your car knowing it's you?
I've had it keyed before,
Really?
once before, a couple of times. Yeah. I don't know whether
That's
that was
not
because
nice.
my parking was a bit shit.
Yeah. You've never had an angry note on the front of it. They're my favourite. So I can't really say that I'm at war with my neighbours because Well, I have just said it, but I'm not at war with them. But there's a little bit of
Some beef.
They sort of go onto my space on the road a little bit much.
Parking wars,
So anyway, these little Passag notes have
Yeah.
started appearing on the car. It's quite tense times at the Stark house at the moment.
Yeah,
The House of Stark.
I've seen that with my dad for years because we live right at the bottom by a park, and people come to the park and just leave their cars in our spot. And oh god, yeah, he's been fuming for years over that.
It gets
Funny
really
to watch.
petty with parking, doesn't it?
Does,
That's
yeah.
what I quite like about that.
So what is the least practical car for a footballer that you've ever seen? Robert Earnshaw, who's 5'7", if he's on tiptoe, didn't he have a Hummer?
He did. I think
mu-
Shaw Wright Phillips had one as well.
He must have looked like a child at the wheel of a tractor.
Yeah, there was a period where the Hummers were in fashion. Well, I've actually been in a Hummer, and they're so basic. Like you say,
Yeah.
they're built for war zones, so it's not luxury by any means. But you're paying a hell of a lot of money for, heaven forbid, you go over a landmine. But if you did, you'd be safe.
It's not happening in Portsmouth.
But I don't
though,
think
is it?
so, yeah.
Or Cobham.
You know, if you're driving round to Cobham, I don't think there's much need for it. And it's not comfortable in the slightest. I think the 4x4's sort of taken over a bit now, hasn't it? But the sports cars used to give, I know quite a few players who have had to ditch them because of injuries. You know,
they're bad for your back.
Well, they're not built, you know, your backs, hamstrings. If you spend any more than sort of an hour in one of those, then certainly for me, I'll be struggling the minute I get out.
Can I ask a question about managers and their cars? Can you be a manager and drive a player's car, or do you have to drive something that is significantly different?
I feel strongly about this. A manager needs a manager's car. It needs to be bigger, but still a car.
Like a posh taxi?
Basically, yeah. I remember George Graham when I was coming through at Spurs. He had a big Merc, a bit like a chauffeur's car, but he was driving it himself. I think that's the manager's staple. That was sort of what I grew up on. I feel like if a manager goes for a 911, I just don't know.
It doesn't add up.
Doesn't
does
feel
it?
right.
It doesn't feel right.
Doesn't feel right. They need to be more reserved, like nice, powerful, comfortable, but reserved.
What about managers on motorbikes? Full leather,
Managers
stepping
in
off the bike.
Managers on motorbikes.
It's quite partridge.
Apart from managers, are there certain playing positions where you can't have a flash car, or you're less likely to have a flash car? So a central defender who's got like a broken nose, can he be seen in a pink Audi? Or does he have to have a car that suits his image?
Yeah, no, I think the more flamboyant the player, the more flamboyant the car. I mean, I've seen some cars. I don't know if you remember El Hadj Diouf's car. Was it gold wrapped? Chrome wrapped?
Was this during his Bolton years?
Yeah, he had a few. I think Jermaine Pennant had a chrome wrapped Aston
You're
Martin.
asking for trouble in a car.
I think so. I remember Balotelli had a camouflage Bentley, and I used to see him around Alderley Edge and stuff like that, and it was always parked sort of in urban areas. I was thinking, if you're going to have a camouflage Bentley, you should move out to the sticks somewhere, really, if you wanted to.
It's green and brown. And also, I'm guessing it was the only car in the whole of the northwest of England that was painted camouflage colours. So actually, it was the equivalent of writing on the side of the car, Balotelli is nearby. It was the
exactly
least
right,
camouflage of all time.
That's been a thing recently, that footballers are involved in wrapping the car in a different colour. I've said to a couple of lads who've wrapped recently, why don't you buy it in that colour?
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah.
Look, we know nothing about cars. Between the three of us, we've established that. So I'm sure there is a proper technical term for this. But when people do something to the paintwork and it looks like a blackboard,
Oh, like a matte wrap.
Matt wrap.
Sounds like something you can get in prep.
This is like your kit picks.
excuse me, is the mat wrap vegetarian? Is it part of the meal deal, the mat wrap? Do players ever buy cars off each other?
You know, if someone gets sold or goes on loan or something like that, I've seen players take over maybe the lease or something like that. I've seen that happen. When I'm talking about transfer, they're not transferred down the road because you could probably drive there. But I'm talking about abroad. You know, if they go abroad or something, say if they're from Spain, they're back to
Yeah.
Spain, they still have a lease payment or a house payment.
So they might come back to say
They might
goodbye
say, well,
and just
someone
dangle
else
the
gets
keys
sold.
and go, anyone want my Lexus?
Exactly right.
Do you get cars as bonuses? So the whole Leicester team got given cars. I remember thinking that was a bit full on.
I've had a few freebies over the years. One of the best cars I've ever had was a Volkswagen Phaeton. I don't even think they do them anymore. I haven't seen any about, but beautiful. It was so light and great on the motorway, which was good, really.
He had
But
to be seen in it, so he'd have to always have the window down,
Yeah.
sort of pointing at everyone.
Volkswagen Phaeton.
The old Harry Redknapp out the window. Yeah. Look at this.
Deadline day.
Deadline day.
Did you have to drop it into interviews? Like when people were saying, would you be interested in a move from Spurs to Stoke? You'd say things like, well, if it would give me more opportunity to drive my Volkswagen Phaeton.
Yeah.
No, genuinely, they didn't want much from me, which is great. And I loved that car. I was gutted when I gave it back. But it did make me look a bit like a German dad or something. It wasn't a lot like... It wasn't wasn't very cool, but it was lovely to drive. It really was.
So I was watching The Jungle, and Harry Redknapp came out with this amazing story that he ran over his wife. Have you ever run over anyone?
Yeah, I have actually. I run over my mate once.
Is this a serious story? Do we need to...
No, he's fine.
Great. I just wanted to check.
That's important.
Yeah, no, he'd forgotten something and ran out. I think we've been playing golf. I dropped him at his house. He ran out just as I was pulling away, and I didn't crunch him. He bounced.
What do you mean he bounced?
Well, he didn't go under. He went over, so it wasn't too bad. Well, I knocked into him, and he went over the windscreen and on the floor.
What?
And I leant out. I said, "Right there, mate," and he was fine.
Where there's blame, there's a claim. If you're listening.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Crouchy admits to running over mate.
Do footballers always pay over the odds? Because, Chris, if you said to me how much is a Lamborghini, blah, blah, blah,
yeah,
I'd have no idea.
Yeah, and I don't think many footballers do either. I like that car. I'd like to purchase it. There are times where players have been ripped off, definitely. It's a shame, really. And I think sometimes there are sharks that circulate footballers because, well paid, and a lot of them are foreign players coming over. If you're a foreign player, you get dropped in, I don't know,
Stoke,
Manchester or Stoke or wherever, and you need a house, you need a car, you need a phone, you've got to pay bills, council tax. You don't know, do you? So someone could say to you, your council tax £100 or £1,000. You're an easy target. I mean, teams now look after players better. There's player liaison officers that will sort all that and take care of it so you can just concentrate on your football. But yeah, certainly 10, 15 years ago that didn't happen, and the Sharks did get their claws in. But Sharks don't have claws, do they?
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah, let me just raise that quickly. They don't have claws.
No, they don't. You're right.
The Lions get their claws in. Does that make any sense?
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
So we've just finished That Cars episode, and we've got one very important thing to do before the end of this episode. But before we get onto that, it appears the whole of Vanuatu is now listening to our podcast, believe it or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's Vanuatu.
Oh, sorry, mate.
No, but
Sorry.
I couldn't pronounce it last week either, so it's Vanuatu.
Vanuatu, yeah.
I've
so we've
never heard of it until
We've had
last,
a strange
last
number
pod.
of messages for a very small, I think it's a series of islands, not just one place, in the South Pacific. We've had a very strange number of messages. This one from Jake. He says, "Hi, Crouchy. I looked after the Vanuatu Prime Minister when a delegation visited London for the Commonwealth Summit earlier this year. I reckon with my contacts, I could sort out some sort of ambassadorial reception for Peter if we can fly him out there."
I'd love that.
It's a long flight, Vanuatu. You basically got to fly to Australia or New Zealand, and then you've got another 5-hour flight.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But listen, they're football mad.
They've got
You could have an ambassadorial reception when they give you, those little chocolates? The ambassador spoiling us. What
I've
are
not
they
had
called?
an ambassadorial reception.
Ferrero Rocher.
Rocher.
You could have some of those in Vanuatu.
Maybe, is there one down here?
Is there a Vanuatu
No,
around
there
here?
must be an ambassador here. That seems a long way to go for a Ferrero Rocher, though.
Are you a king in any foreign land?
No, God, no. I wouldn't be worshipped, would I?
There's this far-flung tribe that absolutely worship Prince Philip.
Yeah.
They go mad for him. I love the idea that somewhere out there is people there that just love Crouch.
It might be a bit like the statues on Easter Island, except rather than these great monoliths of faces, there's just like a stone carving of a man doing the robot.
Statues are amazing.
It'd be nice
though,
to
aren't
have
they?
that. Maybe that's Vanuatu.
We do series 2. I'm going to try to get you a statue somewhere.
Yeah, please, mate.
We just need to work
Enjoy
out
that.
where we'll put it. Here's another one from Vanuatu from Peter. My morning commutes on my quad bike have also been livened up by the podcast. Loving your work, guys.
Bike.
That sounds like a dream. Imagine going to work on a quad bike.
My God, it gets better, boys. His email address is his name followed by @vanuatu.gov.vu.
Oh,
So he must be ministerial.
he is officially in Vanuatu.
He's Mr. Vanuatu. He probably some kind of...
Well, maybe he's the gov.
Yeah, maybe.
Vanuatu.gov.
So if we crack Vanuatu, like bands would always talk about cracking America, wouldn't they? It was the great dream of a British band to crack America.
Yeah.
We haven't cracked America, but we've cracked Vanuatu.
Nailed it. We have nailed Vanuatu is our place.
Taking
We're
over the world,
massive
boys.
over there.
Right, Crouchy, I've got a message here. It might freak you out, but listen, it's got a happy ending, okay? So let's go with it. It's from Jason. Jason says, "Hi guys, a month ago, my wife and I were on a plane crash whilst on our honeymoon in Vanuatu. It's all been a bit rough for us since. Of course, I imagine it has.
Yeah, is he all right?
I mean, it's a tricky one to answer this, isn't it? Really pleased you're enjoying the podcast.
But without doubt, the most enjoyable part of the past 4 weeks has been listening to your podcast. Brilliant. I just wanted to send you and your whole team a heartfelt thank you. You've made a huge difference. All the best, Jason." I'm not quite sure I'd take that.
Jokes aside, so many lovely messages that we get about this podcast. And actually, there's a couple of really special ones that I think we get occasionally. I see on Twitter, I'm sure you see as well, about the podcast giving a bit of light relief in quite heavy times in people's lives. I don't want to get too deep, but this podcast has got 12 episodes in and it actually means something to people out there that might not be having the best time.
I love the fact that people are laughing to themselves on the train. The amount of people that tweet me and get in contact with me and say that they're literally creasing up on the train to themselves. I love the thought of that. I like the fact that we've been able to do that. So.
Yeah.
An email is coming from George. He says, "Crouchy, I spent most of my childhood growing up in Macclesfield, and there was always a big rumour you'd lived in Macclesfield and got turned down by Macclesfield Town Football Club for being too tall."
Well, I was born in Macclesfield.
You're a Mac lad.
Yeah, I was born there. My mum is Mancunian. She grew up around Audley Edge sort of area. But did I get turned down from Macclesfield?
By the Siltman.
No, I don't think that ever happened. I didn't. But yeah, I'm always back in that neck of the woods.
Have you ever been turned down anywhere for being too tall?
Oh God, no, I've been turned down many places. Yeah, the Coach and Horses in Ickenham. Don't go in there.
They wouldn't let you in a pub.
No, it's just. I went. My mate was in there. He said, "Meet me in there." I said, I walked in and said, and I literally walked straight back out because I could not get in the pub. It was so
like a
so
doll's
low
house.
the roofs. We had one pint there, but my mate had to bring it out to me because I wouldn't go in.
Could you not have knelt down in there?
Eventually, I darted in and sat down, but I couldn't stand up in it. It's a tiny pub where the bar is just cannot stand up. So that wasn't for me. Once we were at, I think it was Thorpe Park or Chessington, and I got on the ride. So embarrassing. Got on the ride. I was with my little girl. Got on the ride, and they said, "I was in the seat." And they said, "Sorry, sir, you have to get out." So everyone was watching me, and I had to get out of the seat and walk out. And Avi came on and took my place. He said, "Sorry, you're just too tall for the ride." And it was a low point for me. I'll be honest. It was quite embarrassing. But then the ride got stuck. I was in tears, laughing.
So Abby,
I was just sitting on the ride for half an hour.
she's hanging upside down with
and
your
I was-
daughter.
Yeah, literally. I was over. I had a donut, cup of tea, just mooching around. I always worry as well. I go, "Oh, just let me on. Then when I'm actually on it, I'm like, hold on a minute. What if there's actual reason here? We go around the corner and I crack my head on like the bridge or something. So I do worry about it at times, but yeah, no, it's not really an issue, is it?
Right then, we have a plan. And we do ask you guys to do quite a lot, but we need your help again. Actually, it's not so much asking for your help. It's more we'd like to bestow an honour on you all. So we're actually now looking for, and you're going to love this, Peter, that Peter Crouch podcast ambassadors.
I like it.
You like what I'm thinking here?
So how's this going to work?
Right, so you can be in the UK or anywhere in the world that you're listening to this right now. You could be in Vanuatu.
Good pronunciation. You've nailed that now.
Yeah, I'm getting there. You could be in Ealing. You could be anywhere. We don't mind where
Very
you
different
are.
places.
But if you want to be an official ambassador for this podcast, you need to send Crouchy an email. Crouchy, what's your email address?
It's peter.crouch@bbc.co.uk. Very simple.
So here's the deal. Not everybody can be an ambassador. I reckon we're going to keep it fairly small. We'll choose about 100. But if you want to be one of those people, send us an email with your name and location. You could be in charge of the Finland branch of that Peter Crouch podcast, or you could be the official ambassador for Macclesfield West, somewhere really random, you know?
Are we going to give people hats or like cars, like warrant cars, like FBI officers? These people are going to need to identify themselves if they're knocking on doors, passing the pod.
I don't know, we could get badges made or shirts or something so that you look the part.
Yeah, well, I think if you're on the train and you are laughing your head off and people think you are mad, if you've got I'm listening to that Peter Crouch podcast badge on,
yes,
it's much the same as the pregnancy badge.
Yeah. and hopefully someone will give up their seat for you as well.
Seat. And I feel like if you've got a badge, then people will understand why he's loved himself.
Maybe a bumper sticker as well.
Yeah, that's a great
saying,
idea.
"Don't honk me, I'm listening to that Peter Crouch podcast."
So those are the type of people that you want to make an ambassador.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is official ambassadors for this podcast. There's us three here. We need you to join our team, represent us. You're part of the team. Doesn't matter where you are, let us know. Drop Crouchy an email, peter.crouch@bbc.co.uk, and we can start to get this kind of thing going.
Let's do it.
Love it. So we've also, of course, got our Christmas special. This is the end of the series, but not the end of the series. We're getting together at the Samrat.
Incredible that
Where
this
are
is
we with
happening.
this?
I actually can't believe it. That's just a local Indian. And now it's like global.
It's so good. I think I even saw the BBC announcing that we were having a Christmas special. Is like, look forward to this Christmas.
Before
I
the news.
Thought, this is fucking stupid.
What makes you laugh?
We're going to a curry house. BBC Christmas special.
Do you know what makes me laugh? We're just a few lads in a small room in a pub, and these things happen.
Did you hear what happened with
great.
Will Carling? If you haven't seen this, so did they grass us up or were they being nice? They basically told Will Carling that we've been saying he had fat legs.
Which isn't the case. Can we get our record? We didn't say
Yeah.
that. You just said that he had...
I might have called him Fat Legs Carling.
Oh, you did, yeah.
I've just remembered.
Oh, you
did
yeah,
call him
yeah,
fat
you-
leg,
you
Which
did.
I regret.
You did.
Actually, I don't regret it. I just mean like it was a discussion. There's context to it that we're not explaining properly.
Yeah, well, is he
Sent me a
coming?
nice
Is he
message.
coming
Right,
to
so I've
Samrat?
got some news on this. So he was absolutely bang up for it, but his wife was taking him away for a birthday treat, so he's a bit gutted. He won't be at the
What the birthday
Samrat.
treat is. Like,
Yeah.
He's going to go down to Armani and get some jeans.
Well, I guess that's it, boys. It's been an honour. Well, you know when the Titanic's going down and the guy turns around to the other one and says it's been an honour to serve you or something,
Do we
isn't
need to
it?
salute?
Is that the phrase that he used? Wouldn't have been an honour to serve you,
I
would
thought
it?
it was "Don't leave me, Jack" was the last
No,
bit.
that's further on. That's when they're in the water. I'm talking about the violins are playing
sorry.
in the
Oh,
You're
background.
thinking when he's shivering in the water, aren't you?
Yeah, is that not-
Yeah.
well, that
No,
was
we're the last ones on the ship. That's what it feels like.
Is this the Titanic? That feels like a bad metaphor for me because the
ship's
Titanic's
sinking?
gone. There's no second series for the Titanic.
It's a terrible analogy.
Awful.
But what I wanted to say is, look, 12 episodes. It's what we signed up to do. It's been great fun. Series 2, I'm putting out there. I say we go again. I'm up for it. But if we do go again, Series 2, and it's a big if, we will come back.
back stronger.
Exactly, Crouchy.
Was that what Jack said to Rose as well as he slipped beneath the waves? Back stronger.
He never came back either.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
And that's it for Series 1. If you've missed any of the episodes, there are 12 of them, please go back and download or just listen to them again. You never know, you might find a little hidden meaning or something you missed the first time around. There was so many good stories from Crouchy, and I'd hate to think that you missed any of them. Can't believe it, 12 episodes, who'd have thought? I just want to say as well, thank you so much to everyone that left us a nice review or rated the podcast or passed it around. It started as something that was quite small. We weren't really sure how it was going to play out, and it's ended up being this little world of our own. And we're so happy that we could have made this for you. So from all three of us, thank you so much. There is one more episode left, and that is our Christmas special. So make sure you enjoy that. It's going to be out in a couple of weeks. But until then, goodbye.
BBC Radio 5 Live.